Hello students, here I am to deal with chapter number 3, that is water. So we will go through the introduction of water. See, as the first line is written, next to air, water is a common substance on earth. So just open page number 33, it is given. Next to air, water is the most common substance on the surface of earth, and according to W. Oswald, he stated that almost all the chemical process which occurs in nature that takes place among the solution in water, means whatever the reaction takes place, they will be in the form of solution, maximum in the form of solution, and one of the substance will be water. Therefore we can say that whatever the reactions takes place that occurs in presence of water, and water is important for life. And also water can be of natural type as well as treated water. So whatever the surface, means whatever the water available on the surface, if it is in natural form such as river, lake, sea, pond, they all will be considered as natural water. And the water which will be treated in a form of filtered water or treated by some chemicals, they will be coming under the condition of treated water. Our next point is importance of water. Now water is important for us in every natural process and also in the growth of plants as well as animals. Now whatever the reactions takes place in our human body, it can be metabolic or anabolic or catabolic. This can be, means whatever the reactions takes place in every cell, that will be taking place in presence of water. Therefore we can say for a human body, water is very important for carrying out all the reactions or all the functions, as well as industrial process. Whatever the reactions taking place in the industrial cases such as agricultural, in agriculture without water we can't grow plants. Then transportation also in the case of with the help of sea, whenever we transport a substance from a seaway from one country to another, there also, and the power generation of a plant, with the help of water only we generate electricity. So that can be in hydroelectricity or thermoelectricity. Now our third topic is occurrence of water. Water occurs in free state also as well as in combined state also. See, in free state also as well as in combined state also. If we talk about free state, there will be three conditions: solid, liquid and gas. So in case of solid, it will be ice, snow, frost. Now in case of liquid, if it is available on surface of earth, it will be lake water, river water, sea water, spring water. If it will be available below to the earth surface, it will be well water or the moisture accumulation in the soil. If it will be above to the earth crust, it will be in a form of dew. And if we talk about the gaseous state, it will be water vapor, cloud, mist and fog. Now if we talk about the combined state, see right now we have discussed about the free state. If we talk about the combined state, in form of combined state, if we talk about all the living matters means plant and animals. So there water occurs in the combined state. Then whatever the hydrated salts are present, there also water is having, means water, they have water. And if we talk about earth surface, approximately 75% of earth surface is having water. If we talk about our human body, by the weight, nearly 70% of water is there. And if we talk about any food product, green vegetables, milk, dry cereals, rice, these all are having water in it. Okay, so we can say water occurs in a free state also as well as in combined state also, and 75% of earth surface is having water, as well as human body is also having 70% of water. Our next topic is water cycle. Now as we know, just for the maintenance of whenever nature maintains the circulation of water from the earth surface takes place, and this condition is called as water cycle, where whatever the amount of water which is available on surface of earth, whenever there is a huge amount of heat or sunlight, means due to the sun energy, due to the heat which is evolved from the sun, the water which is available on the surface of earth, they just evaporate to the atmosphere, and again they come back in a form of water on a earth surface. So this is what called as water cycle. from the primary classes you are studying water cycle, such as whatever the amount of water available on the surface of earth, they get evaporated and further they collected in the form of cloud. All the cloud get when the cloud becomes heavy, again the water comes down in the form of rain. So this is called as water cycle, and this water cycle used to maintain the nature, or you can say maintain the condition of earth by circulation of water from earth to again to the earth for maintaining the temperature. Now our next topic is water is compound, not an element. As we know, formula of water is H2O. Okay, as we know, formula of water is H2O. As we know, formula of water is H2O. So H represents hydrogen and O represents oxygen, where it is not an element. If we just break this water, there will be H2 and O2. Means H2 is another element and O2 is another element, such as hydrogen and oxygen. When they both combined with a fixed ratio, then only this water molecule forms. It means hydrogen is having some other property, oxygen is having some other property. They both are showing some other property, therefore they are considered as element. Now when they both combined under the fixed ratio, there is a formation of water. This water just show its new property, it does not show the property of hydrogen and oxygen. Therefore, as having new property and it cannot be break down by a physical means, this water is considered as a compound. You can see here on page number 34, according to Henry Cavendish, he synthesized water from the element, that is hydrogen and oxygen, by the ratio of 2:1 in volume. Okay, and A. Lavoisier further confirmed that water is a compound of two elements, that is hydrogen and oxygen, and the molecule of water is comprised of two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. Now see, properties of compound is given, where that property will be matched to the properties of water, such as property of compound, there is the fixed proportion by weight, and in case of water also you can see there is a fixed proportion by weight of 2:1. Now you can say the property of compound, whenever there is a formation of compound, new property forms. Same case takes place here. This water is showing some new property as compared to H2O. Third is component of compound can be separated by chemical means. Means whenever there is a compound, it can be separated by chemical means. Same case takes place here. If we just divide this water by a chemical process, such as by the electrolysis, then only this water will divide into H2 and O2. Otherwise this water will remain as a water only. So while combining or while comparing the property of compound with the property of water, we say that water is considered as a compound. Now, as already we have discussed, कि water is available on surface of earth. There I told you about natural water and treated water. So natural water will be in the form of sea, river, pond, etc. If we talk about the treated water can be distilled water, and this distilled water is the purest form of water, okay, which we prepare by condensing water vapor or steam, and it will be called as soft water, and it will be free from all the solutes. Next is pipe bound water. This is followed by the filtration by a chemical treatment of a water. This will be free from bacteria but contains some essential minerals. And third will be chlorinated water, which will be used in the swimming pools. And this chlorinated water, we just add chlorine to water just for make the water free from germs and bacteria, which we use in swimming pools, or sometimes you have seen or maybe you have smelled water when you go to the railway stations and what, or any government offices. Their water generally we smell. So their tankers are too much big, which cannot be easily cleaned. Therefore we used to put their chlorine tablets just to clean or just to kill the germs and bacteria from there, and that water can be used for a further use. Now our next topic is water as a universal solvent. Now see, why water is called as universal solvent? This can be a question. So your answer will be, water has ability to dissolve a large number of substances, that may be salt, sugar, and anything. Therefore, large number of gases can also be dissolved, and hence due to this dissolution of different substance into water is called as universal solvent. Some can dissolve in a few seconds, some will take time, and therefore water is called as universal solvent. So if anybody asks you why water is called as universal solvent, you will say water has ability to dissolve a maximum numbers of substance. It can be solid, liquid or gas. Some will dissolve at once or some will take time. Therefore water is called as universal solvent. Now as it is called as solvent, so solvent means the substance which is more in quantity. The substance which is more in quantity, that is solvent. Now we will add also something into it to make a solution. So the substance which is less in quantity, that is solute. It means we can say whenever there is a mixture of solute and solvent, there is a formation of solution. Okay. So how solution is formed? When solute mixes to solvent, there is a formation of solution, where solute will be always less in quantity. Okay. Solute will also always be less in quantity. Solvent will always in more in quantity. Okay. It is a general method to learn about solute and solvent, or if there is a question differentiate between solute and solvent, so you will write first point as the substance which is less in quantity is called as solute. The substance which is more in quantity, that is called as solvent. Now second point, the substance which dissolves in a solvent. Substance which dissolve in a solvent is called as solute. And the medium of dissolution. Medium of dissolution means in which this solute dissolve is called as solvent. Okay. So this is example. If you want to take any example such as salt and water. Salt plus water. Where we take salt in less amount, so salt will be solute, and water we take in more amount, so water will be solvent. Okay. Salt and water. Where salt is less in quantity, so solute. Salt will dissolve in a solution, this solvent, therefore it is a solute. And water is a more in quantity, so water will be solvent, and it is a medium of dissolution of salt, therefore it is considered as solute. Now this is a simple things by which mixing two things we can make a solution. Now types of solution is given on page number 35, you can go through. First is given dilute and concentrated solution. So on the basis of amount of solute added, this solution can be of two type, dilute solution as well as concentrated solution. So dilute solution means solute is relatively small as compared to the amount of solvent. When amount of solvent is more and amount of solute is less, so that will be considered a dilute. And if the amount of solute is more, as compared to solvent, so that will be considered as concentrated solution. Now here it is given about only true solutions. So according to the basis of number of size of particle means the size of particle of solute, there can be three type of solution: true solution, colloidal solution, as well as suspension. But here it is given about only true solution, so we will only study true solution, where the nature of true solution is homogeneous. True solution means, this example is salt and water, where you mix these two, further you will get a complete colorless solution, such as when you put salt to water, a colorless solution is formed. Further, the amount of solute cannot be seen in the water. So this is an example of a true solution, where the homogeneous solution will form. Now the size of particle of a solute, this particle will not be visible in the solution, and if we just filter it through the filter paper, all the substance get easily filtered. It cannot be, means we can say that all the substance will passes through the filter paper. If we want to see under the microscope, it will be not visible, and as the salt completely dissolves in water, it means there will be no formation of precipitate and nothing will settle down at the bottom of a beaker. If you want to separate it, you can go through a physical method, not by a chemical method. Suppose if you want to separate salt by water, simply go through the process of evaporation. Water will evaporate, and in the petri dish or china dish, wherever you take this particular solution, salt will remain there only. So we can say this true solution is a mixture, it's not a compound, because we can separate it with the help of physical change, not by a chemical change. Okay, now we will just go through the next type of solution, what it is. Our next topic is solution. See, just before this we have studied solution according to the basis of amount of solute added as well as amount of solvent. Now here we will see amount of solute added, or whatever the amount of solute added at a given temperature. There are three types of solution. First is saturated solution, second one is unsaturated solution, and third one is supersaturated solution. Now first we will go through the first one, saturated solution. Saturated solution is a solution which cannot dissolve more the solute at a given temperature, is called as saturated solution. Such as you take a glass full of water, at least 100 gram of water you take. Now keep on adding a spoon of a salt in it. You will observe when you add 1, 2, 3 tablespoons to that particular amount of water, the salt will continuously dissolve in water. But after some time you will see what will happen. The solute will remains inside, or it will just collect it at the bottom of a glass or beaker, whichever you take. It means no more solute is added at a given time or at a given temperature. So that is called as saturated solution, where you say कि now this water or this particular solution becomes saturated. Such as sometimes it happens with you people also. When you study too much continuously the same subject or same topic, your mind gets saturated. Further nothing can you cannot grasp anything, or nothing can go inside your mind. At that time you say कि you are getting saturated. So the same example is applied here, or the same condition is applied here. You keep on adding a solute to a solvent, and at a given time no further solute is dissolving in a water or any solvent. So therefore that condition will be saturated, and further the solution which will form, that will be saturated solution. Now next one is unsaturated solution. Unsaturated solution means you keep on dissolving the solute to a solvent, and there will be formation of solution takes place. Means a solution which can dissolve more of a solute at a given temperature is called as unsaturated solution. Means the substance you keep on adding to a solvent, and that solvent keep on dissolving the substance, and therefore that substance will be, or that solution which form is called as unsaturated solution. Now this saturated solution can be converted to unsaturated solution. How? If you heat saturated solution, it will turn to unsaturated solution, or by adding more solvent to the saturated solution. If you will keep on adding more substance to a saturated solution, after adding the temperature it will turn to unsaturated solution. Now at one condition there will be formation of supersaturated solution. What will happen at that part? When you keep on adding the solvent to a saturated solution, but you keep on increasing the temperature, at that part the solution becomes supersaturated solution. If you want to prepare it, you take saturated solution, you just increase the temperature. When you will increase the temperature, it will keep on adding the more solvent into it, and further the solution becomes supersaturated solution. Now in your book page number 36, one chart is given, one table is given related to solvent. See, the best solvent or universal solvent is water, but some more solvents are given here, where you will see the solvent benzene, which is used to dissolve rubber into it. The solute will called as rubber. Now turpentine oil, where paint and paraffin wax dissolves. Then now carbon disulfide, where sulfur and phosphorus dissolves. Petrol, where grease, chlorophyll and rubber dissolves. Acetone, where cellulose acetate or you can say nail polish dissolves. Therefore we can say, or especially girls are using nail remover. Yeah? So in that nail remover, acetone is used just for removing that nail polish. Alcohol. In alcohol as a solvent where iodine, naphthalene and chlorophyll can dissolve. Oxalic acid where rust can dissolve. If wherever rusting takes place, if there is a formation of rust, if you just pour oxalic acid solvent there, the rust will dissolve in it. As well as methylated spirit, that is used to dissolve the chlorophyll. Okay, so please learn this chart or learn this table given on page number 36. It will be helpful for you in your exams. Now our next topic is solubility. Now solubility, as you have studied about the solution, what is going on here? We are just adding solute to a solvent. So whenever solute is added to a solvent, there is a formation of solution. Now different salts or whatever the different sugars are available, different salts are available, or different compounds are available, they all are having their own solubility. So solubility means, or you can say all the solutes, they are having their own solubilities according to the different solvent taken. So if we go through the definition of solubility, the ability of a solute to dissolve in a particular solvent. The ability of a solute to dissolve in a particular solvent to form a universal result, to form a universal or uniform result is called as solubility, where the weight of solute upon weight of solvent into 100, whatever the amount of weight of solute was there, whatever the solute amount you have taken, whatever the amount of solvent was there, when you divide it and multiply by 100, whatever the value comes, that will be the solubility of a particular substance. So the definition is, the solubility of a solute in a solvent at a particular temperature is the maximum amount of solute in gram which will saturate. Keep in your mind, which will saturate. Suppose you have taken 20 gram of solute and 100 ml of solvent. Okay, suppose you have taken 20 gram of solute and 100 gram of solvent. Now when you keep on adding slowly the amount of solute into a solvent, and suppose the substance or a solution becomes saturate at 50 gram only. Suppose the solvent becomes saturate at 15 gram only. So here the weight of solute will be 20 minus 15, or the weight of solute will be 15 only. Whatever the amount of weight left will be 5 only, because in this case the weight of solute you have taken total 20 gram, or solvent you have taken total 100 gram. Out of this 20 gram, only 15 gram is used to make a saturated solution. So here will be 15, here will be 100, and further when you will divide, you will get the answer, and that answer will be the amount, the solubility. And therefore we can say different solutes as well as different solvents, they have their difference in the solubility. So according to the solubility of a different substance, we have to plot a curve, we have to plot a graph, such as see on page number 38. The topic is given solubility curve, which is our next topic, solubility curve. So whenever the solubility of a solute is being calculated with respect to given solvent, we have to plot a graph where there is a solubility as well as temperature, because whenever we increase or decrease the temperature, the solubility will differ. So that is a graph, or the graph can be plotted between solubility and temperature. Therefore whatever the curve is being formed, that is called as solubility curve. Okay, now this solubility curve having different effects such as, if we increase the solubility, if we increase the temperature, in some cases solubility increases, in some cases it slightly decreases, in some cases it remains as the same. Such as if we take KNO3, that is potassium nitrate. So in case of potassium nitrate, the solubility will keep on increasing. As we increase the temperature, the solubility will also increase. If we talk about sodium chloride, In case of sodium chloride, when we increase the temperature, it will slightly increase the solubility of a sodium chloride. If we talk about calcium sulfate, whenever we increase the temperature, there will be decrease in solubility of calcium sulfate. So this is what the changes takes place. When we increase the temperature, in some of the cases solubility increases. When we decrease the temperature, in some of the cases it decreases, and in some of the cases it remains as a same. Now what is the application of this solubility curve? Application of this solubility curve there are in three cases. First in the case of medical, second in the case of research works, as well as third in the case of separation of different solutes. So if we talk about medical, in this case it enables a pharmacist to determine the amount of drugs, especially which is dissolved, up to of which quantity and into which solvent. Then only the this chemist, or then only this doctors can prescribe a different medicines. Then in research work, what is the useful effect here? It enables to determine the solvent various temperatures, key on various temperature which of the substance can dissolve, and what are the essential extraction of that particular drug, that can be identified by the help of solubility curve. And separation and purification of solutes. Whenever the saturated solution is mixed to a solute and cooled, those fraction with a very low solubility, when very low solubility cases are there, therefore we use this separation technique just to means in separation we use this solubility curve to identify where the particular substance crystallizes to form a medicine. So in case of solubility curve, when we there is effect of temperature on the different solutes as well as solvent. And if there is a question, what is the useful use of this solubility curve? So there are three applications of this solubility curve. First in case of medical, second in case of research work, and third in case of separation. Now we will see what are the effects of pressure and temperature on the solubility. Now, as already I told you, we will discuss about the solubility, what will be the effect of temperature and pressure on the solubility. But here we will see the solubility of gas. If we study the solubility of gas, what are the influences of pressure as well as temperature on the gases? Now first we will talk about effect of temperature. Okay. So whenever there is a solubility of gas in a water, whenever there is a solubility of gas in a water, whenever we increase the temperature, there causes a decrease of solubility of gas in a water. Okay, whenever we increase the temperature, there will be decrease in the solubility of a water, or you can say solubility of a gas in a water. Means the gas will dissolve less in a case of water. Such as a case, you can say, whenever we boil water, see, water is having its own taste, but when we boil water, it loses its taste. Why it loses its taste? Because water is having soluble amount of gases as well as salt in it. So as I told you, whenever we increase the temperature, the solubility of gas in a water decreases. Due to this reason only, the taste of water get loosed. Okay, so if there is a question why water loses its taste on boiling, so your answer will be, as we increase the temperature, the solubility of a gas in a water decreases, therefore water loses its taste. Okay, now next we can say gases are more soluble in cold water than in a water at a high temperature, such as soda contain carbon dioxide dissolved under the pressure. Soda water simply means H2O plus CO2. When they both combine, there is formation of H2CO3. This is soda water. Okay, now here in this case, carbon dioxide is a gas which is dissolved in water. Now this is dissolved under the condition of pressure. So we say, if we keep this at an ordinary temperature, if we keep this condition under the ordinary temperature, particular will be giving a flat taste, or you will say कि there will be no evolution of the amount of gases in it. But at the same time, when we cool it, means when we'll decrease the temperature, the solubility of this gas in water increases, and further it gives a fizzy sound, or it produces more effervescence. At the same time, in the case of lower temperature, the solubility of gas is more as compared to the higher temperature. Okay, so keep in your mind, if we talk about the effect of temperature, the temperature is inversely proportional to the solubility of a gas in a water, or we can say whenever temperature increases, the solubility of gas in water decreases, or whenever we decrease the temperature, the increase of solubility of gas in a water takes place. Okay, now we will talk about the second topic, that is effect of pressure. What is the effect of pressure? Whenever we increase the pressure, pressure on a surface of water, whenever we increase the pressure on a surface of water, there will be increase in the solubility of gas in a water. There will be increase of a solubility of a gas in a water. Such as, simple, the same example I will take here, where water and carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide, while applying the pressure, is dissolved in water. So if more amount of carbon dioxide is mixed to the water while applying the pressure, further it is just when the soda water is when it is opened, the carbon dioxide will be released. So we can say that at a normal atmospheric pressure, the solubility of carbon dioxide is very low, but when it is subjected to a higher pressure, it dissolves with a greater extent, as in the case of soda water, in which carbon dioxide is dissolved in water under the pressure with the bottle corked. Bottle corked means whenever we mix this carbon dioxide to water, further pressure is applied, gas is mixed. So when the pressure is increased, the solubility of this gas increases in a water, surface of water. Further we just close it with the help of this cap. Now this condition is there, soda water. But when you release the pressure, when you decrease the pressure, again the solubility of gas decreases. So they both are directly proportional. And they follow the Henry laws. Okay, they follow the Henry law. So we can say whenever we open a bottle, any bottle, soda water bottle, Pepsi bottle, in that case, when we open the bottle, we releases the pressure. So when pressure is released, means the pressure is suddenly decreased. The amount of gas which is dissolved in it, that also decreases. So we can say if a pressure increases on a surface of water, its boiling point increases and freezing point decreases. Therefore we can say that whenever we increase the pressure on a surface of water, its boiling point increases and freezing point decreases. Now children, these all are the topics which we have studied today, which is related to introduction of water. Then water cycle we have studied. Why water is called as compound, not an element. So some questions can be framed from it. Explain the occurrence of water, describe water cycle, why water is considered as compound, not an element. Okay, then why water is called as universal solvent, discuss type of solution, differentiate between saturated and unsaturated solution, then differentiate between saturated and supersaturated solution, differentiate between unsaturated and supersaturated solution, what is solubility, how solubility can be calculated. Now what is solubility curve, what are the applications of solubility curve. Now what are the effect of pressure and temperature on a gas, of a solubility of gas. So these are the questions can be framed from these topics which we have covered today. Once you please go through the chapter from page number 33 till page number 39. If you are having any problem, please ask. Next topic we will cover in the next video. Now some questions are there for you to do from the given topics which is being covered today. Just open page number 48. You have to open page number 48. You have to open page number 48. See, on page number 48, what are the questions we will do? See, from question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we have already discussed. You have to do question number 13. You have to do question number 13. You have to do question number 13. Then from page number 49, you have to do question number 1, 2 in your book only. Whatever the question related to the topic, do that only. And question number 3, page number 48, page number 49, page number 49. See, page number 48, question number 13, and page number 49, question number 3, 1 and 2. Question number 3, 1 and 2. Question number 3, 1 and 2. Okay, question number 3, 1 and 2 you will do. So your homework is to do question number 13 of page number 48 and question number 3, first and second of page number 49. Do these questions in your copy. 3 questions I gave you. Do this question in your copy, and whenever we go through the next video, I will complete chapter there, and further I will give you more questions to do there. Till now, please go through the chapter, whatever the topics I have told you today, and please revise it. If there is any confusion related to the topic, please ask. I hope these all topics are clear to you. Thank you, my dear children.